And this morning, we're talking about Ghana's debt sustainability risk, or debt risk, actually. I don't know why I keep saying that. But so a debt sustainability analysis actually conducted just last month confirmed that Ghana has now moved from a high risk to a moderate risk of debt distress. Now, the finance minister, Dr. Kesel Atuforsen, says this is a major milestone on the path to debt sustainability and credit worthiness restoration. And presenting the 2026 budget in Parliament, he said this achievement is proof that responsible fiscal management delivers tangible results. But what exactly does all of these things mean? Ghana's debt risks has dropped. What does it mean for the economy? What does it mean for you as a business owner and as an individual? And that's what we're talking about this morning. I am joined over the phone lines by Reverend Dr. Sam Worlanyo Mensah. He's an economist and he joins us for this conversation. I'll be doing this with my colleague Albert Konedu. And Albert, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, great. So, Doc, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to our audience.
Right, great. Thanks so much for making time to join us this morning.
Welcome, sir.
All right, so let's get into our conversation this morning. Now, for the benefit of our listeners, what exactly does it mean when Ghana's debt risk drops from high to moderate? What does it really mean?
Your line is very faint.
Oh, sorry. Is it any better?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
Okay. Yes. So, I was asking that what does it mean? What exactly does it mean if we say that, if we say that Ghana's debt risk has dropped from high to moderate?
Well, there are rating agencies that normally upgrades or certifies a country's economy. And these information is what investors look up to in order to invest in an economy, whether the economy is viable or not. So in risk assessment and also risk to debt issues has become a key component to the national development planning agenda. This has been the issue about investment, whether locally or foreign direct investment. So it has been a variable that is used to assess the strength of the liquidity of an economy.
So what exactly does a rating measure?
Well, looking at all the fundamentals, the economy of Ghana is quite stable with a positive outlook, meaning that the situation currently is the one that attracts investors or will attract investors. And that whatever that normally scares investors away has been taken out.
Okay.
So investors now have more confidence in the economy to invest. And so that will see some appreciable level of foreign direct investment. And also the local potentials as far as entrepreneurs are concerned. People will believe that investing in an economy or in an enterprise will definitely yield a positive result. And so that confidence is there for people to do business.
I see, but how significant is that? How significant is this particular downgrade?
Well, it's a positive outlook, meaning that it's highly significant. But then the sustainability is also a different issue. Because most of the times, the economic indicators are all positive. If you look at it from the angle of the policy rate from the Bank of Ghana, if you look at it from the angle of the interest rates from the various universal and commercial banks, if you also look at it from the angle of inflationary points, that inflation has reduced to single digit. If you look at it from the angle that the growth rate is approaching 6%. And if you also look at it from the angle of the volatilities of um the currency, that's the exchange rate, a cedi to a dollar is currently around 12 cedis,
Mm.
which is quite stable. So these are the parameters and the indicators that every investor is looking at,
Looking at.
and it's quite stable, and it's very encouraging for people to invest.
Mm. I see. So would you say that as a cosmetic improvement or maybe something genuinely meaningful?
There are two ways of assessing the performance of an economy.
Mm.
One is market value, and the other is the book value. The book value is what we are all referring to. But the market value talks more about the welfare of citizens, how individual citizens feel this impact in their lives. But there is a gap between the book value and market value. It takes some time, like 6 months to a year, for you to really feel the impact of an improvement in the book value.
Mm.
So definitely, when people wanted to see an instant improvement, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
It takes sometimes at least not less than 3 months.
Mm. 3 months.
At least not less than 3 months.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah.
Mm. I see. So what exactly were the key factors that contributed to this drop in debt risks? Which reforms or decisions actually mattered most?
There are two main components. One is about fiscal discipline, and the other is about monetary discipline. So if you look at the fiscal, that's more or less how we are able to plan the country vis-a-vis the comparison of the expenditure and income.
Mm.
And the government has been able to invest much more into capital investment, more than the recurrent expenditures. And government has also been able to improve upon economies of scale. And at the end of the day, government has also been able to rake in more revenue. And also the monitoring, we're talking about the policies and programs that the central bank has put in place. And if you look recently, that Bank of Ghana has given an ultimatum to industries not to transact business in foreign currency. These are all the policies that have really helped us to be able to sustain the local currency.
Mm. So those are the factors that are actually leading to what we're seeing.
Exactly.
Mm. Now, Ghana experienced a similar moment between 2004 and 2007. I'm sure you remember after the HIPIC debt relief. What parallels do you see between then and now?
If you look at it holistically, we also undergo debt restructuring during the kind of reactors time,
Yeah.
and also the IMF conditionalities and the bailouts has significantly also influences Ghana's chances. So you have a direct correlation, and this direct correlation is helping us to mitigate the shocks. But after the IMF conditionalities and the bailout, how do we sustain the economy?
Mm.
And so we need to start planning long-term development instead of short and medium term. And so we need to resource the National Development Planning Commission to be able to do such a job for us, and also equally fight corruption.
Mm. I'm going to come back to you. On this particular one as to what exactly we can do. But I remember that we actually slipped back. We slipped back into high risk after 2012 to 2015 thereabout. What went wrong at the time, and how can we avoid repeating that cycle?
We have three major factors that have really not been tackled. The issue about mismanagement of resources, misappropriation, and misallocation. And so there are strong issues that variables that will be tackled. But at the end of the day, because we lack political experience, we were not able to use financial resources judiciously.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, there were no value for money. Money that were borrowed should have been invested into capital investments. That most of these monies have rather been used for recurrent expenditures, seminars, paying of salaries and wages. And people use it to travel and have their paying.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, we spend the money without any value. And also, we were not able to strengthen the procurement processes. So people take advantage of that and defrauded the state.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I didn't quite get the last things you said.
So I said we were also not able to put a lot of monitoring and evaluation measures in place.
Mm.
So people took advantage of that and defrauded the state by inflating contract costs.
Mm. But currently, would you say that we have those things in place?
Well, government has put a lot of measures in place, but I'm yet to see a very strong monitoring and evaluation team.
Mm.
So I urge the government to look at that and work on it assiduously.
Mm. Okay, all right. So exactly 14 minutes after 9, this is Business Breakfast on Z. If you just tuned in, this morning we are having a conversation on the debt risk that has dropped. Now, our debt risk has dropped from high to moderate, and we're looking at what exactly that means for the economy, what that means for you as a business owner and for your household. And my guest is Dr. Sam Worlanyo Mensah. He is an economist and he is the one having this conversation with me. If you want to join the conversation, please feel free to send me a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. And also you can engage our post on social media. On Facebook, we're at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. We're streaming live on those platforms. Please drop your comments there and we'll read them for you. Now, Doc, let's continue the conversation. Albert, you have a question.
Doc, please, I would like to find out, how does this progress position Ghana in relation to other African economies facing debt challenges?
Well, currently, Africa really needs to sit up, because if you look at our unemployment rate is so high. And also when you look at the continental free trade area, that's supposed to be the pilot project for the continental business agreement. I think the Africa is dragging its feet. If you look at European markets, for instance, trade among European countries around 65-70%. But if you look at that of Africa, it's around 18%. That's woefully inadequate. So what we need to do now is to take advantage of the continental free trade area and be able to produce to meet market demands. And so by so doing, we'll be able to reduce most of our cost in terms of country economical debt. So that's the only way the African countries can decolonize themselves in terms of debt restructuring.
I see. So there's a lot of things we can do in terms of ACTA, but we haven't quite seen a lot of work along those lines.
Yeah, it's simply because of international politics. There are other markets, other blocks, European blocks, American and Chinese and thereabouts. So everybody is fighting for its interests. So it's like Africa doesn't know what is good for it. And so there are international political dimensions. So the various blocks will try as much as possible to frustrate your efforts. So it's the Africans that needs to come stronger. And so the African Union must work hard as well as the ECOWAS to be able to forestall this, because we have gained some level of political independence, but the economic independence is what we are still struggling with.
Yeah.
And we need to really work on that in order to disabuse the erroneous impressions as far as the issues of new colonialism is concerned.
Mm. I see. Well, let's now look at what exactly this means for the economy. Now, how does a lower debt risk actually translate into everyday economic life? What can the ordinary Ghanaian expect to feel in the short term?
Well, definitely, it narrows to the welfare of the citizens. That will definitely improve. But when we talk about it directly, then that has given us some level of confidence for people to invest. So people are likely to invest more. And once people are investing into your economy, definitely that is going to strengthen the local currency. And once the local currency is strengthened, definitely the cost of living will reduce. And that will marginally improve the standard of living. And that there will be much more job creations, and the issues of crime rate and its related activities will also be reduced.
Doc, maybe you want to throw some more light on the last thing you said, the crime rate being reduced. How does that happen?
Yeah, it's a matter of survival of fittest. So everybody needs to survive. And so if you look at the government's approach currently in fighting that, so if assuming the government succeeded in fighting the unsafe, where are the Galamseyers going? They will still come back to the streets. If government couldn't provide that enabling platform for them to make an end meet. And so once the economy is picking up, definitely investor confidence will also increase.
Right.
And once investors are coming, setting up industries, companies, definitely the youths who are unemployed will be gainfully employed. And that will surely take them out of the street, because without jobs, we are likely to see them engaging in social vices, armed robbery, petty thievery, prostitution, and its likely related issues. So it's an integrated approach that government needs to adopt. Because once you are solving unemployment problems too, government is also reducing its cost that it has incurred.
Okay.
These are these supporting security agencies to fight crime. And these monies come back to the state as a revenue. The government uses it for infrastructure development.
Okay. Right. So it has a cascading effect on crime rates as well. Let's look at the income levels. How does that affect it?
Well, income is relative, poverty is relative, but definitely there will be an increment in the minimum capital requirement and also the minimum wage. So if the economy is doing well, the Bank of Ghana will definitely review its policies on the minimum capital requirement for financial institutions. Because if the minimum capital requirement is so high, it will absorb the profit margins of all the commercial banks. So, meaning that the banks will no longer have much liquidity to lend to the general public. And that will siphon businesses. But if the economy is picking up and is doing quite well, the minimum capital requirements will be reduced. And the difference will become money that can be lent to the general public, especially the business community. So we also encourage the government not to borrow from the domestic market, so that businesses, when they go to the banks, they'll be able to have access to liquidity. And that's how we do economic planning.
But so far this year, we've seen the government borrowing largely from the domestic market.
And that was an economic error.
Doc, throw more light on that.
I believe that if really government wants to strengthen the economy, then we need to look at the small and medium scale enterprises who largely depends on various commercial banks and investor banks for survival. So if the government is going to compete with these industries, the various banks for loans, definitely the banks will show okay dealing with the state than the individuals because of the high level of assurance. But this is likely to collapse so many industries. And so we know that coming into government the first year is quite problematic and quite challenging. But we still advise government that if we want to develop the local economy, then there is a need for us to desist from borrowing from the local domestic market.
But one will argue that we aren't quite seeing the effects. Or are you saying it is already going on, but we are just not seeing it?
As I indicated, we have book value and market value. And these are all statistics. We are speaking to statistics. So definitely it takes some few months for us to see the realization of that.
So you're saying we are sitting on a ticking time bomb?
Indeed, Ghana is sitting on the cliff, on the edge of the cliff.
I see. So if we continue to, if government continues to come to the domestic market, very soon we are going to see the effect. What exactly will we see as a tangible to tell us that indeed this is actually the effect?
Business will continue to struggle, and redundancy will set in because people need to protect their interests. So redundancy will set in, and if that government doesn't have an alternative plan of employing the teeming unemployed, then unemployment rates will be very high. And unemployment rates will also be a national security threat. And so government now needs to look for more money to support and develop the capacities of the various security agencies to fight crime and insurgency. And so those are the kind of dangers that we are likely to face if we fail to put the necessary and relevant policies in place.
So another argument that may rise is that we currently don't have any sources, stable sources of revenue. So the only option the government has is to go to the domestic market. And they have said they are not going to go to the international capital market. Would you say that they can go there, or what other revenue avenues would you suggest to government?
It's a lazy approach, government borrowing all the time, because the shortest and the surest way you can raise revenue is to fight corruption. If you take the Auditor General's report alone, money that have been misappropriated, misapplied, mismanaged, it's more than what we are seeking from IMF and World Bank. So what prevents government, now that we have given the powers to the Controller and Accountant Generals and the Auditor General's Department to surcharge people so that we can recoup these monies into consolidated funds? But it's like politicians have one peculiar song that is scrap my back and also scrap your back. And so at the end of the day, it's like we are not serious in fighting corruption, and we are only interested in getting money to spend. We don't really care how that money is being spent.
But corruption, the fight against corruption, or what you're suggesting, is actually not something we can do in the short term. But government financing, government needs financing to be able to run the day-to-day affairs of the country. So how can we handle that?
The issue of fighting corruption has not started with you. It has started a long time before you personally even start the media way. If we were to take the right step, just one step at that time, by now we'll have achieved maximum attainment. So let's start today. When we start today, I believe that it will be very significant. Yes, managing an economy, we need short-term, long-term, and medium-term plans.
Yeah.
So let's roll them out. And fighting corruption can be a long-term and a medium-term process. Let's roll them out, and I believe that is really going to help us.
But we've seen a lot of initiatives towards the fight against corruption, which I believe that will see the effects in the long term. But in the short term, now you're saying that government shouldn't go to the domestic market to borrow. Looking at what other options are available apart from the fight against corruption.
If government cut down the size of government, we are also fighting corruption and we are getting more revenue. If government is able to reduce its expenditures, recurrent expenditures, we are getting more revenue. So getting revenue is not just about taxing people. Of course, if government is also able to work on the digitization process started by the previous government, it will be able to help us to formalize the informal sector and be able to use proactive steps to galvanize resources for the state. And so without the digitization, how do you reprofile your economy? Because largely the economy is about 70%, 65 to 70% informal. So you need to reprofile the informal sector. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that. But if you are interested in just winning the next elections, you adopt policies and programs that are populous in nature. That will make you win the next elections and not necessarily the next generation.
Right. But I think that also is, I agree with you on all the things you're saying. Just that I also think that is also another long-term plan, a long-term thing that we can do. I mean, formalizing the informal sector is not something we can do within the shortest possible time. So
it's just like to say that if you go to court, the court process, justice process and procedures delayed. So you decided to do an instant justice. It doesn't work like that. Governance is a process. Let's follow the process and it will work for us.
Okay. Right. So you are calling for some those are structural issues that we have to deal with. So fair enough. Now let's come back to what we're talking about. Now you talked about the income levels and also the fact that we're going to see some improvement in terms of job creation as well. Should businesses expect improvements in access to credit, maybe interest rates and also financing costs?
Well, once interest rates are reducing, it gives relief to businesses. Once businesses are going to buy raw materials and because of inflation, the price is quite stable. It's a plus to businesses. So all this economic relief is giving some level of restoration to businesses. So businesses are already enjoying these favorable economic variables. So all that we needed to do now is government must desist from borrowing from domestic markets. And so that once businesses have access to credit, why not? They will be able to expand their businesses, plow back their profit into the businesses and employment. And once they are doing quite well, I believe they also increase the salaries and wages of their employees. So definitely governments have a strong role to play. And we as business also need to be very strategic in planning.
By strategic in planning, what do you mean?
You need to plan to reduce costs, unnecessary costs. And invest in areas that will be able to yield dividends for you. You don't just invest in an enterprise because.
Hello, Doc. Hello. All right, I think we lost Doc there. We'll try and reconnect him, and then we can continue our conversation this morning. So we're talking to Dr. Sam Worlanyo Mensah, and he's an economist, and he was sharing his thoughts with us on the debt risk drop that we are beginning to see now. Ghana has been, our debt risk has dropped from high to moderate, and we're looking at what exactly that means for the economy. According to Doctor, there are things that we have to do, and first of all, this particular downgrade is due to it's not something that is cosmetic. It's actually genuine, and people are going to see the effects. Ghanaians are going to see the effect over time. He says that sometimes it takes more than 3 months for you to be able to see the effects of this, but it's going to have an effect on our jobs. It's going to have an effect on income levels as well, and some other aspects of our life. And I was asking him what businesses should do. He says that you have to strategize around this time. Make sure that whatever you're doing, you are trying to reduce costs, and that is also something that will help you, or that's something you benefit from. And so we will try and reconnect him, and then we continue the conversation. I have quite a lot of things to get Doc to touch on, especially the implication on the stability of the cedi, which I believe is one very important thing that a lot of us are very much concerned about. So we'll touch on that very soon. Also, he spoke about investor confidence a while ago. He will throw a bit more light on that when we are able to reconnect him. And then we also talk about the sustainability. I continue to hear Doc talk about the fact that what we have to do is to be able to sustain it, because I was pointing to the fact that 2004 to 2007, we saw a similar situation after the HIPIC debt relief. But over time, we slid back into high risk again. And now we are back to moderate risk. And so what exactly can we do to sustain it so that whatever went wrong back in the day in 2012 to 2015, whatever happened around that time will not repeat itself, so that we can continue to enjoy the outlook that we are beginning to see. So it's a very important thing we'll be talking about very soon. Please don't go anywhere. You can join the conversation on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we're at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. You can drop a comment on any of the posts, and then we try and give you the opportunity, or we read your messages for you, really. So we'll still try and connect Doc very, very soon, and then we can continue the conversation. Okay, I think we have Doc back on the line. Hello, Doc. All right. Okay. I think we don't have him yet. We'll reconnect it, and then we can speak to him this morning. Okay. So I think I have him back now. Hello, Doc. Hello. Okay. Doc, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah. So good to have you back on the lines. So we're talking. You were talking about what businesses should do, and you're saying that they should strategize. And by that, what you mean is that they should actually try to reduce cost. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, you need to do some level of the business once you start running. After 6 months, after a year, you need to do assessment, economic impact assessment, social impact, environmental impact, financial impact assessment, and see how your performances are. So without that, how do you assess your going forward? So businesses must also try as much as possible and consult business analysts, experts, sometimes in the operations. It will help them so that you don't just get up and invest in areas that will lead to futility.
Okay. Right. So, Doc, a very important part of the things that we are concerned about is the stability of the cedi. I want to know, does this have some immediate implications for the stability of the cedi?
So your question is not too clear.
Yeah, I want to know whether the rating that we are seeing, the downgrade that we are seeing, whether it has any immediate implication for the stability of the cedi.
Not a direct correlation, because the grading of the economy is talking about the performance of the economy, the viability of the economy, or let's put it this way, the potentials of the economy in terms of investment. And so it's a statistics, it's a data that is being given out to the investor community. And the issue about stability of the city is also just one component. So when we talk about the credit ratings, it's not just talking about inflation. It's not just talking about exchange rates. It's all other components, including the policy rate, interest rate, even the growth rate. So the issue about the currency is just a one factor.
Right. Okay, let's touch on the investor confidence bit as well, because you mentioned that earlier. You were talking about it boosting investor confidence. What does it really fully mean, if you can throw some more light on that?
When an individual applies for a loan in a bank, the bank is interested in knowing your profile, your financial profile. Now, the bank will be interested in knowing the kind of property that you have. Now, these properties that you have will be valued and quantified. And so that will determine how much the bank should give you as an individual. I'm just drawing this analogy for your audience to understand better.
Yeah.
Then a country like Ghana is also considered like a human being, an entity. So for Ghana, for people to invest in Ghana, they want to know its viability, its potential. And so that is what we are describing as the investor confidence. And so every investor wanted to invest his money where he is likely to make a return. You will not invest in an economy where tomorrow there is high level of uncertainties.
Not at all.
What we have seen in the debt restructuring, Finance Minister Keneforiata just got up one day and said that I am giving a haircut because the economy is weak at that time.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the haircut and the intervention of the IMF and World Bank credit facilities. The economy of Ghana will have collapsed. And so every investor is looking at whether there is certainty, whether the economy is viable, whether there is an assurance, whether I am safe to invest into an economy. And I think that is the most important thing, and that is what we are talking about, investor confidence.
So this will mean that, this particular rating will mean that we are going to get more FDI, isn't it?
The rating shows that Ghana has a positive outlook.
Right.
Meaning that it is more stable for any investor to invest in Ghana. And the likelihood that the investor will lose investment, that likelihood is very low.
Okay. Doc, let's talk about the sustainability of it, because that's one of the things you kept mentioning. But just before that, let me announce the phone lines one more time in case anybody wants to join the conversation. So just about 90 minutes to the top of the hour. This is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 Hammond. And this morning, we're talking about Ghana's debt rating. We've been downgraded from high debt risk to moderate, and so that is actually some good news. But we're looking at what exactly that means And Dr. Sam Worlanyo Mensah is my guest, and he's an economist, and we're having this conversation this morning. You can join the conversation. Please feel free, if you want, to send me a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019, or you can call me on 030395661, 030395661, and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're on Facebook and we're streaming live at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please do want to engage, post on those platforms, and then we will read your comments for you. Now, Doc, let's talk about the sustainability. Is this new rating very sustainable, or are we at a risk of slipping backward if we don't stay disciplined?
It's not a fixed information. It's an information the investor community that currently this is how Ghana stands. As for what future holds for Ghana, nobody can tell. But currently, this is what Ghana stands. It's just like you have a national population and housing census in maybe every 4 years. So the last census that we had, the population of Ghana is around 33 million. And that is what we are using currently. But from that time up to now, the population of Ghana in reality is more than 33 million. But statistically and per data, that is what we'll be using until the next grading system. Aha.
So what are the major risks that could actually derail this progress?
One is lack of foresight. One is like lack of vision. There is lack of good leadership and the political will. Then complacency sets in. You see, it's too early for us to start jubilating. If no complacency will set in, you think you have done so much. Then before you realize there are international issues that who knew that issues of COVID will surface. So anything can happen. If you know you are not able to reposition our economy very well, and there are external shocks, yes, it's really going to disorganize your local economy. So we should be able to plan for eventualities.
Okay. Right. I have a message here, and it's coming from Aaron from Accra. He says that great conversation. I would like to know what challenges still remain in Ghana's fiscal landscape despite this positive rating.
It sounds like a case study. It sounds like a case study, but then all the same, it's not, most of the time, it's not just about theories. It's about the practicality. So members of the economic management team must roll out policies and programs that will be able to pay for itself. Policies and programs that will be long-term capital intensive. And so that once you have long-term development agenda, definitely you'll be able to sustain the economy. You invest much more in agribusiness and agro-processing. Invest much more in petrochemical industry. Invest much more in local technologies. You invest much more in the pharmaceutical industry. So you invest much more in the area of cotton production and be able to manage the economy well by ensuring that you really avoid unnecessary expenditures. These are measures that will really help.
Okay.
If you're able to achieve food security, if you're able to reduce importation into this country drastically, if you're able to refine our crude oil, at least 70% of our domestic demands, if you're able to produce to meet the African market demand, then definitely you'll be able to sustain the economy. But it's more of a practical approach than theories.
Okay. I see. So, but how crucial is export diversification as well in keeping us out of high debt distress in the long term? Diversification is more of adding value, because if really
you want to improve upon the economies of skills. You look at the factors of production. If you take the factors of production, land labor, capital, the fourth one is entrepreneurship, and that is leadership. You see? So if you are able to get resources to develop a country and the leadership fails to plan, then we failed to succeed. So it all borders on leadership. Leadership must be very proactive and they must be able to know what is good for us. If we take the interest of the state, if we take the interest of Ghana, because these days every economy is fighting for its interest, but Ghana seems not to know what is good for us. We can't be running the economy on freebies. And so we need to strengthen our local economy. There are certain tactics that I think they are not nuisance specific.
Right.
Really, we have been able to tell Ghanaians what exactly we use them for. What is wrong if maybe the betting tax is introduced or increased so that we use the proceeds to take care of the double track system under the free senior high school system. Once resources are going to those areas and Ghanaians are seeing that problem has been solved, nobody complain are paying taxes. If we are paying taxes and only our leaders are enjoying life, the poor is becoming poorer each day. So we need to diversify, add value to our primary products, and also look at our interest. Let's produce for our market. There are products that we have competitive advantage and absolute advantage. Let's produce for our market. Let's champion consumptions of local goods than foreign goods. And all these things will strengthen the local economy and make life better.
I see. Now, you talked about value addition, and I know that there are other things that we can also talk about. Oil, and this is something that a lot of economists have said. What sectors do you think we should be betting on to grow the economy sustainably?
Well, I've just listed them. Government should invest in the domestication, that's agri-businesses and agro-processing. We can't mention products one by one. Our government should be balanced in achieving food and water security. We can make Ghana pharmaceutical hub for the whole of, if not Africa, West African states. Let's produce most of the drugs over here. And the drugs that we produce here will be environmentally friendly. The effects and the harms on our survival will be less. You see?
Yeah.
Let's reduce importation. We can only reduce importation when we are producing. So, like for instance, government's policy of Akuko Nkitinkiti, if we succeeded doing that and develop the capacity of the local entrepreneurs, we don't need new people. We don't need to give new people new money to start poultry farming. We already have the structures. The structure we have is a National Farmers Day. Let's identify poultry farmers and support them to expand their farms. Then they'll be able to employ more hands, more labor. Then we are reducing unemployment rates. You see? But anytime that there is a discovery of oil, cocoa economy also declines. So we need to check that one very, very well and make agri look more lucrative rather than how it sounds as if it's a punishment.
I see. Right. So I really wish we could talk a bit more about the Nkukong project and all of that. But do you think we need stricter fiscal rules? I mean, like capping deficits or maybe legislating borrowing limits to actually prevent future slippages?
Well, that is likely to happen because of the political expediency. You know, we should have developed the capacity of the National Development Planning Commission to champion development, not political manifesto. So once you have substituted national development agenda with political manifesto, the development is to satisfy the political class, not really to develop the country.
I see. Right. Okay. Doc, we have to go now, but maybe I'll take your final thoughts. Well, for businesses listening today, what should they start preparing for in this new environment?
Well, the environment is conducive for business, but they should equally contract experts to always get expert opinion and expert advice as we continue to run their operations. And that is really going to help the investor community. Cost of doing business is gradually reducing. And I believe that businesses should plan very well and they should reduce unnecessary expenditure so that they will remain in business for a very good appreciable time. I wish you all the best.
Okay. All right, Doc. A few questions, here from some of our listeners. Let me just read them quickly and then you can just briefly touch on them. This one says that, Doc, what further reforms are needed to keep Ghana's debt stable in the long term? Oh, I think Doc has already answered this, right? Yeah. And he also says that this one says, this is from Martin from Seco. He says that, can Ghana sustain the gain after our IMF exit next year? Doc?
Ghana can sustain, depends on the directions that the president wants the country to do. And that will be the work of the National Economic Management Team. So the Economic Management Team must be more proactive in addressing issues
to be able to sustain that. Right, Doc. Okay, thank you very much. Really grateful that you joined me this morning.
I'm equally grateful for your participation.
All right. Okay, please do enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, thank you. Well, that was Dr. Sam Worlanyo Mensah. He is an economist, and he joined me this morning for our roundtable discussion. And we've had a very great conversation. We've talked about our debt risk levels. We've been moved from high rating to moderate. And so we were talking about what exactly that means for the economy. And Doc has actually said a lot of things in terms of what we need to do and what could actually derail this sustainability, because we've seen it before. I said it earlier that we've seen it before. We experienced a similar situation in 2004, between 2004 and 2007, and after the HAPIC debt relief. And so it looks like we have another opportunity. And all the time, we know that anytime we see such debt reliefs, it's a window of opportunity, but it must be managed with discipline or we lose the gains. So that's how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Z with me, Nichrebi Hammond. I was also joined by my colleague Albert Konedu, and we did this together. We're back again tomorrow for more interesting conversations right here on the Business Breakfast on Z. Please keep listening to Z, and when you think Ghana, think Z. Up next is an inspiring